maintenance, inspections, and minor repairs for fire suppression systems at city-owned facilities. Is the date of the city council agenda being posted? There is not yet an outcome from the January 28th, 2025 Public Works and Transportation Committee. Staff is available to answer any questions. Councilmember Starr?
Yeah, sure. Once again, just would love to hear from the members of the Public Works and Transportation Committee for how this, what type of questions they asked and what their conclusions were.
Yes, Councilman. Yes, member.
Mr. Starr, did you get an opportunity to watch the meeting?
I did, but I just want them to say out loud what happened.
That seems a little bit out of line, in my mind.
Okay.
If they were there and they did their job,
I'm happy to go on with my questions.
Okay, and I respect that you have the right to do that, but I needed you to understand that's how I feel when you double check. Sort of like, I'll let it go there.
I'm just also trying to understand what the value is that's happening at the committee level. So we want to go forward
Mr.
with using
Starr,
committees.
I'll be more than happy to switch committees with you.
No, that's not my request. Thank you.
I mean, the video is there. We as council members need to be prepared. We need to see this. And if you have additional questions that the committee didn't ask, by all means, but for you to ask us to reenact, I think that's just, at this point, a waste of our time.
I'll just ask my questions.
Councilmember Starr, do you have any questions for Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did see that the request for bid was directly shared with 21 contractors who've registered with the city to be notified of this type of project. And I know we only got one responsive bidder. So I'm just would love to be able to talk to a few of the people that we send these out to and just find out what it takes to get them to bid. So it's just sort of the same request as the previous item.
So maybe there needs to be a conversation with the city attorney's office, because when we're talking about public projects and then talking to potential bidders, there is certainly something that potentially could be an issue from a litigation standpoint. So my suggestion is that that conversation should probably happen with the city attorney's office first.
Can we have it there, maybe we can have, yeah, go ahead and I'll chime in. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just keep it brief because it is a complicated area of the law. There's an anti-collusion declaration in the Labor Code and the Public Contract Code. There's very strict laws. If you have outside conversations with them, you probably have to recuse yourself from voting on the contract. You would at least have to announce any type of discussion that you've had with them prior to the business. It's something I recommend that you be very careful wading into. You could also prevent these people from bidding on things in the city. They could be in an area called debarment. So I don't suggest you do that. The purchasing agent does reach out. We do reach out and say, why don't you bid? What's going on? Is there anything that we can fix? And what I can say is this is a common issue in Ventura County. It's not just Oxnard specific. Ventura, Camarillo, Simi, Moore Park, Ojai, they all have similar issues. We're in this isolated little area in between two larger centers, so we just don't get the bids that an LA gets or Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. So the work goes out. And we have a handful of local contractors that a lot of your out-of-towners, they just can't beat them. So we do get a lot of repeat players there. But we are cognizant. We try to cast a wide net. We do reach out, and these things are posted online as well. So there's a multitude of ways that we send these bids out.
But in this case,
Yeah, I think Councilmember Pearl had a
Yes,
question.
before the city attorney, can you please explain the term debarment and what the jeopardy is on that?
It means that we put the contractor at risk of not being able to bid on things that the city issues.
Why?
Because there's been some untoward activity or an allegation of it. And
Basically an
findings-
allegation, doesn't mean there's anything proven.
No,
Just
and
somebody,
it-
a competitor would challenge it.
It is a complicated area of the law, and it does put federal funding at risk. So we got to be careful for our federally funded projects, not just public projects.
Thank you.
regular projects.
Thanks.
so just so I'm clear, I'm not talking about talking to vendors before the bidding happens and the contract is awarded. I'm just trying to figure out after the fact. And I would just love to talk to some and say, hey, you're signed up for you're registered with our city to be notified of this type of project. You wanted to be notified of this. You didn't bid. And I'm just wanting to know, is there something about this process that we need to do differently so that we get more than the bid?
You're the deciding body. That's an ex parte conversation with the bidder. I really strongly caution you on that. What I suggest is that you have a meeting with the purchasing agent and myself, and we can go through this information with you. This is something that staff does, and there's a proper way to do it. Because you are the determiner of the outcome of these bids and the awarding body. So when it's you guys talking to them, there's ex parte issues, there's fairness issues, there's transparency issues. So I strongly caution against that, but we can discuss later.
All right,
We have that information for you.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it offline.
Appreciate that clarification, City Attorney. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, let me also chime in because I want to provide a different contextual reality check for everybody. So 2 things. Number 1, businesses make their decisions to bid or not bid for many reasons, many reasons. In my experience at city halls, there's no business that does a good job that can make money that doesn't want to bid. But they have a lot of reasons. It's a whole range of reasons. So keep that in mind. The second thing, and this is the reality check, given what's happened in the Palisades and in Altadena, and given that LA is gearing up for the World Cup, a Super Bowl, and the Olympics, the labor pool in Southern California is going to gravitate like a black hole to that region. So don't be surprised if we actually see fewer bids in the coming years as LA recovers and prepares for those global sports events. Thank you.
Thank you for providing that context. Mr. Wolf, were you going to say anything else, or was there any other comment or clarification question for Mr. Wolf?
Just that the Public Works and Transportation Commission, or committee approved it 3-0. Just wanted to make that mention.
Thank you for that. If there's no more discussion on any of these items, Madam Clerk, are there any? Number 7. Oh, you did. I apologize, Mr. Starr. I didn't circle number 7. Okay, we'll go to number 7. This is from Public Works also. This subject multiple agreements for on-call professional engineering services for water, wastewater, and recycled water systems. The recommendation that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the following agreements, each with an initial term of 1 year from February 5th, 2025 to February 4th, 2026, with an option for 4 consecutive 1-year period extensions ending February 4th, 2030, for on-call professional engineering services for water, wastewater, and recycled water systems. And he lists 1 through 10. And as of this date of the City Council agenda being posted, there is not yet an outcome from the January 28th, 2025 Public Works and Transportation Committee. Staff is available to answer any questions. And we have Mr. Wolf here to provide any questions any council member may have. Councilmember Starr?
So actually, I wanted to take this opportunity to compliment you. I really appreciate the report shows both the not to exceed amounts of the current agreements and what was spent to date. I like the fact that we gave potential vendors 5 weeks to submit proposals and that we received multiple proposals. I think the timing helped. And that's really all I wanted to say about this. You did great work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any public speakers on any of the agenda items?
Mayor, we have no speakers virtually or in person for these items.
Thank you. If there are no additional speakers, what is the pleasure of City Council for the city items on the information consent agenda?
I would like to address number 8.
Oh, I apologize. Councilmember Perello had a question on number 8 or wanted some clarification. And this is from the Finance Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Just looking at this, and I appreciate the report, but there are some chunks of investments that we have that are generating, in my mind, some extremely low incomes, but they appear to be for longer periods of time. Could you explain how we would get into a longer, say a 5-year investment where it generates less than a 1% interest return? Please.
Good evening, Javier Chagoyel Lázaro, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Oxnard. There's multiple reasons. One of them is the market conditions determined at the time of the purchasing of the investment, determine those rate of returns. Now, what we can see in the portfolio that for the city is performing below, the average return on investment is below LAIF, below the county pool. And what we can see doing some analysis in the portfolio is that back in 2021, there were certain roughly $160 million of the portfolio were invested for 5 years. And that set of the portfolio is the one that is providing a return of less than 1%. When you look at the history of the interest rates, 2021 was one of the years where basically we were just still within the pandemic. The interest rates were really low, and we're trying to get the economy going back to into normal function. So one of the challenges is when you lock investment for 5 years, that is the maximum that we can invest per the California government code. And
Excuse me, can you repeat that? 5 years is the maximum?
the maximum amount of the term that we can put money aside, and that's basically defined by California government code and the investment policy. But the risk of that is what we call investment risk. It's one of the risks of investment. And that what happens is when time goes by, if you're locking your investments for 5 years, a set interest rate, in this case in 2021, it was at the bottom of the market. When the interest recovered, and that just happened a few months later in 2022, the city, those funds are basically locked. As the interests are going up, the market value of those investments now are lower. So if we were trying to reinvest that money at a higher interest rate, the city will have to take a loss. And that's not what we recommend. We hold those investments until maturity. But the fact that those monies were invested for 5 years prevented the city to take advantage of the recovery of the interest rates in the market. And that's happening since 2022 until now. Now the average interest rate is close to 4.5% in the market. So all those years that those funds were invested at 1%, basically the city was basically just giving up on the increase on the interest rates in the market.
If this situation came up again and we had, say, the same scenario, $160 million to invest, and it was around 1% that we could get at 5 years, would you suggest doing that again? When none of us can look in a crystal ball and know what's going on, but because it sounds like losing the opportunity to invest the money during that 5-year period, unless we take a hit collecting the money so we can reinvest it.
We will have to take into consideration different factors, but I will probably be more inclined to have a shorter tenure on the investment to allow for more flexibility and the opportunity to, when interest rates are eventually going to go up, to take the opportunity to take those the upside of the market when those interest rates are going to change.
Okay, thank you very much. And the reason I asked, Mayor, is as it was explained, and I thank you very much for the explanation. The opportunity to potentially make 4% of the money versus 1%, and the opportunity lost is a big thing, because the city of Oxnard could do with that income a lot of things. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely, thank you.
That's all I have.
For that robust question.
So I assume that if we're buying a bond, let's say, and it's 1% yield, that when interest rates go to up or 3 or 4%, of course, the bond price has to drop to account for that, because people can buy a bond for 4% now in the market at par. Why would they pay a par for one that only earns 1% at that point? So we have some market risk depending on what happens to interest rates. It's kind of an inverse relationship.
That's correct.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, just confirming there is no speakers on any of the agenda items?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. Given that, what is the pleasure of City Council for the city items on the information consent agenda?
I'll move the recommended action.
I will second.
If there are no further discussion, I call for the vote.
Councilmember Perallo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua,
Aye.
Mayor MacArthur,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bettis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez,
Aye.
Councilman Starr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran,
Yes.
and the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Now regarding the Oxnard Housing Authority business on the information consent agenda, what is the pleasure of the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners?
I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
Commissioner Andrade? Commissioner Basua? Chair MacArthur?
Yes.
Commissioner Perallo? Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Aye.
Commissioner Starr?
Yes.
Vice Chair Teran?
Yes.
The motion carries 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone's patience here. There being no further business on the agenda and without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.